Welcome to Chronicles of Europe, a podcast that takes you on a journey through history, inviting you to explore the intricate tapestry of human civilization. I'm your host, Mr. Joe D'Aquila. In this episode, we turn our attention to the tumultuous political landscape of Europe from 1650 to 1789, a time when empires rose and fell, ideologies clashed, and the very nature of political power was redefined. Our story begins in the midst of the English Civil War, conflict that would shape the destiny of a nation. In England, armies loyal to the Parliament, known as the Roundheads, clashed with the King's supporters, the Cavaliers. The war ended with Parliament emerging victorious, the King in exile, and important principles instituted. This marked the end of the monarchy and the establishment of a republican government under Oliver Cromwell from 1653 to 1658. But that was not all. The conflict fundamentally altered the English constitution, ending the doctrine of the divine right of kings and leading to the formation of England's first standing national army. I cannot stress enough how pivotal these events were in shaping modern British governance and the relationship between the monarchy and Parliament. Our system of government in Canada today owes much to these events. The war concluded with Parliament victorious, and the King, Charles I, met a tragic end on the executioner's block. The principles established during this turbulent time included the idea that no single monarch could rule without the consent of Parliament, marking a significant shift in the balance of power. Let's fast forward to 1688. And we find ourselves in the midst of the Glorious Revolution. Parliamentary forces ousted King James II, forcing him into exile. They extended an invitation to Mary, James's sister, and her husband, the Dutch king, William, to ascend to the British throne. In return, they signed the English Bill of Rights. The Glorious Revolution was a pivotal moment in British history as well. It established the principles of constitutional monarchy and parliamentary sovereignty, a system where the king would rule with the advice and consent of the elected representatives of the people in Parliament. While Britain was moving towards a more balanced political system, continental Europe was charting a different course. Absolute monarchies were established in many countries, most notably in France, Austria, Russia, and Prussia. Under the rule of Louis XIV in France, this system of absolute power came to be known as divine right absolutism. Louis XIV's vision of monarchy was modeled after the new scientific conception of the universe, with his country as the central sun and all other parts orbiting around his person, driven by the gravitational forces of his authority. Louis XIV's reign, often referred to as the Sun King, stands as a landmark period in European history. His rule left an indelible mark on the development of the modern state, reshaping the very foundations of government, but also leading to a system of social and economic inequality that would later bring about a very bloody and brutal revolution in France. But that is a conversation for another day. To truly appreciate this transformation, we must delve into the evolution of the medieval concept of kingship to the emergence of monarchy during this pivotal era. In the Middle Ages, kings were far from the all-powerful figures we associate with monarchy today. Instead, they were frequently just one among many feudal lords, each holding their own territory and responsibilities among their vassals. The medieval era was characterized by a complex web of allegiances and obligations. Kings were often dependent on the support of their vassals for military service, which created a delicate balance of power. Vassals or nobles could and did, from time to time, refuse or even revolt, knowing that he who pays the piper calls the tune. In essence, the king's authority rested on the goodwill and cooperation of his vassals, and the loyalty of his army was not a given. However, as the centuries passed, a significant shift occurred. Trends were reshaping the very idea of kingship. The concept of kings as equals gradually gave way to the notion of monarchs as an undisputed ruler during the period from the 1500s to the 1800s. This marked the age of absolute monarchs. This new era, the power and authority of the monarchs were consolidated and expanded. The concept of the realm expanded beyond a mere collection of territories to encompass the entire territory over which a king was responsible. The state, as we know it today, began to take shape, a clearly defined, unified territory under the absolute rule of law and sovereign political power. This shift towards absolute monarchy was a radical departure from the medieval system. Monarchs like Louis XIV sought to centralize power within their person, casting themselves as the embodiment of the state itself. Louis XIV's legacy is not merely a historical curiosity, but rather a foundational pillar of the modern nation-state. The concept of absolute rule, the consolidation of authority, and the idea that the state is a unified entity governed by a set of laws and principles all find their roots in this transformative period. As we look back on the reign of Louis XIV and the broader evolution of kingship to monarchy, we gain insight into the complex journey that led to the political structures of the present day. That's all for now. Join us in the next episode of Chronicles of Europe as we continue our exploration of the past and its profound impact on the world we live in. I'm your host, Joe D'Aquila. Thank you for listening. Goodbye for now.